What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Full Throttle Drive. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. So I apologize that I have not uploaded as often as I usually do, but I have been working very hard on my latest project, which has been wrapping my Audi R8, and it looks really great. We've made some very good progress. However, it's been very time consuming, and if you haven't already checked out those videos, check them out now. They're a lot of fun and really enjoyable to watch. But today we're not going to talk about the R8. We are going to talk about the mid-engine C8 Corvette, and I wanted to talk about it because there's an interesting topic going around the forums talking on whether we are really going to see just the mid-engine layout, or if we're going to see the front mid-engine, kind of the previous generation style, or could we possibly see both? So let's go ahead and dive in now. So I wanted to make this video because I thought it was really important to talk about the aspect of whether we will see a continued variation of the current layout, which is a front mid-engine layout where the engine is in front of the driver and passenger, versus what we are seeing as the prototype of the new generation that we believe we will see, which is a rear mid-engine layout. And again, there's substantial proof out there. We just saw the latest testing of a prototype out in California, which I'll actually get to a little bit into today's video, but we do see plenty of information and evidence to back the rear mid-engine layout, that is the newest generation that will probably come out for the C8 Corvette. However, there is still some evidence showing that maybe, just possibly, we could actually get both layouts. And so I want to share with you guys what this individual on the forum says. His quote says, "Lately, we are getting verified info on the revised C7 front-engine Corvette as a new ordering code for the 2020 model year. I've always determined from various sources that we have Year 1 and Year 2 internal codes, which stand for Year 1 C7 front-engine Corvette and then Year 2 C8 front-engine Corvette." And when he says front engine, he means technically it's front mid-engine. A lot of people kind of criticize whether you call it a mid-engine or a front engine, but for the most part, people recognize it as a front engine Corvette. It then goes on to say, "We've also learned that the internal code ZERV, which you guys know ZERV02, C8 mid-engine Corvette Zora. I've always thought that we would have both a front engine and a mid-engine C8 going forward to satisfy all prior Corvette owners, creating a new clientele on the upscale Zora." He then goes on to talk about the pricing and the upscale interior for the Zora, which again, this is something we've talked about in previous videos, but he brings a really good point to the table, and that is, if we did have both variations of the drivetrain where we did have the front mid-engine and then the rear mid-engine layout, then they could do the pricing way higher on the Zora version, which is the new prototype we're seeing of the rear mid-engine layout. And this is an interesting concept because it would allow GM to have a C8 Corvette that is the front engine, that uses their current platform, and maybe it's updated in the interior and there's some updatings on the exterior, but it's the same layout as the previous generation. And so this is pretty huge because this all comes down to pricing, probably the biggest point that everybody wants to hit on. So many people are worried when they see the testing of the C8 mid-engine Corvette, the fact that we know we're going to see one, people feel like they're going to be priced out of the market. People say, well, we're going to see a $150,000 price tag. Again, I've talked about this many times, and if they only come out with a mid-engine for the C8 Corvette, then it will not price tag at $150,000 for the base. They would price so many of their buyers completely out of the market, and that's not the point of the Corvette lineup. However, if they were to have two different layouts, both this front mid-engine and then their rear mid-engine layout, they could price them completely separate, where the new Zora is $150,000 and it includes all of the bells and whistles, and then you have your normal version of the C8 as well. Now, we haven't gotten too much evidence of this, but one thing I do want to note, and I don't completely agree that this is the case, I do feel like we are probably only going to see a rear mid-engine layout. However, there is a little bit of evidence to back that up, and that's the fact of the last platform for the C7 Corvette did exceptionally well. They did a great job with it, but it's only lasted them 5 or 6 years, and usually they keep them to 10 to 15 years of the layout. And so the fact that they would already be ending it to go mid-rear engine would be a huge change. But unfortunately, as with everything residing around the C8 mid-engine Corvette, we are going to have to wait till we get verified information. One other really interesting point is the fact that Car and Driver in their latest issue talked a little bit about the C8 Corvette, and they kind of doubled down. And this is what they said. While there may be a gap between the C7 and C8 models in Europe, that's not the case for America. We have had in good authority that there will be some overlap between the production of the C7 and the C8 Corvettes for the first year or two of the mid-engined C8 cars run, with high-performance Z06 and ZR1 C7 models continuing as Chevrolet builds out the new C8 lineup beyond the base car, which will launch first, which is what we expect. We know that there's going to be a base car and then there will be several variations afterwards. That's what we've seen with every generation of previous Corvette, but it gives us an idea that we could either see an overlap or that we could see both built together, and that would be interesting. But that kind of transitions from the fact of, are we going to see this huge pricing difference? And Car and Driver thinks that you won't. We think that we will see a base price more respectable to a current C7 base price, or according to this member online, they are saying they believe that referencing these codes tells us that we could get two separate platforms for the new C8 generation, but only time will tell, guys. But I'm curious what you guys think as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the sighting that we saw in California, and that's really exciting. Now, we talked about the latest sighting that we saw back in Detroit, and that's completely normal. We see sightings in Detroit because, again, that's where the car is being developed. But to see it out in California is really exciting. And it was actually by a test loop that a lot of cars use for Car of the Year testing. And this is really interesting. Now, one thing for Car of the Year testing we got to know is that the car can't cost more than 4 times the average sale price of vehicles, which right now is about $144,000. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, there you go. There's the car that's going to be up towards $140,000. But that's the max price. It can't be more than that. And again, I still think we're going to see a base price of the $70,000 to $75,000. If you haven't checked out my video on why I believe that, then you can check that out now. But guys, as I said, there's a lot of back and forth speculation on this price and whether we will see 2 different platform layouts for the new C8 Corvette. But nevertheless, we know we are going to get some form of a rear mid-engine Corvette, and it's really exciting. And you guys were able to see some of the latest spotted pictures of the C8 testing out in California. But guys, as I always in my videos, what are your thoughts? I love conversing. I love hearing what you guys have to say about the C8 Corvette. Do you think now they are going to have 2 variations of the C8 Corvette, or are they going to just double down and make everything good for the new rear mid-engine layout? There may be a little bit of a gap of build over, which makes sense. The ZR1 hasn't been out that long, and they may continue to produce it as the base of the C8 comes out. But what are your thoughts? What do you guys think? If you have any new information you want to share about this video, about what we're talking about, drop it below in the comments. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you enjoyed as well. Remember, subscribe just so that you can stay up to date with all of my latest videos, as well as the wrapping on my Audi R8. And we have a lot of cool content coming this spring that we're going to be doing with it. So make sure you stay up to date. Also, hit that bell notification if you get the chance. It again will let you know when I upload my latest videos for you. Guys, as always, you take care and we'll see you next video.
You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig any deeper now? I gave you all I own, put you on this golden throne, but I'm a little stronger now. You cashed in on my promises, you know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in